Good day, YouTube. Well, it's actually night. It's 2:15 in the morning. I cannot sleep. My nose is blocked like the M25 when some idiot has crashed into the barriers right outside blooming the A10. Annoying? I know. I hate it. All the bloody time. And to make things worse, friggin' snowing. For everyone out there, yep, it's snowing. What a tit. So, last week, or it wasn't actually a full week, I kind of did it a couple of days ago, really. We were talking about the dirtiness of sexual abuse, not in the sense that it's a dirty act, but the way the victim feels. Now, imagine if you feel dirty, you feel tainted, and if you believe that to be so true, what impact would that have in your life? Well, from what me and my friends have discussed, we have kind of noticed various similarities in kind of this idea. And that is that you don't want people touching you. And that's for obvious reason. It goes without saying. If you were sexually abused, you wouldn't want people touching you. That's always the big thing. But you wouldn't want to touch them. Because you believe, deep down, that there is something physically manifesting itself from that abuse in you and that other people can get that. That something physical has contaminated you. That's quite deep. And that is going to have a fundamental shift in a person's essence. If you are unable or unwanting human touch, you think about it. Human touch, not a big deal. But is it? What happens when you meet your friends? You give them a hug. The send a bondship. A fellowship between your friends. You shake their hand. A symbol of, I don't know you that well, but I'm happy to meet you. An introduction. You are upset. Which, let's face it, you would be. We all know this. Where's your comfort? Because me and my friends have talked about that. The one thing that they don't want sympathy. Now, this is a big thing. I freaking go nuts on this. People do self-harm, who are depressed, yada yada yada. They don't want sympathy, they want empathy. And that's a whole new subject, and I'm really off point. But how do you support people with sexual abuse? Well, it's really hard, You can't give them the physical support, despite whether you want to or whether they want to. It's just, in many circumstances, not all, but in many circumstances, that is not possible. Not straight away, anyway. So, you've got to think about it. This person is a victim through something often horrible. Now, they're conflicted in the sense that they think that they physically have something wrong with them because of the abuse. And I'm not talking about an STI or, I don't know, God forbid, a baby or something like that in the case of like rape or something. But there is something that is in them which doesn't exist. It's completely subconscious. But they think that because such vile acts were done on them, that someone else is going to catch the dirtiness that they feel. And this dirtiness, I guess, is a sense of shame, of embarrassment, because it's happened to them. And that's understandable. This is something very personal, very invasive of a person. And people would feel ashamed that it happened to them. People do. And I can understand why people would feel dirty. Like, the taint is there. And I kind of got off point. I'm trying to find it. Where were we? Yeah. So, the very fact that they feel dirty has changed the definition of themselves. They've gone from, I guess, the innocent child. Let's say that, innocent child. They're abused. They've lost the innocence. They've now redefined themselves as someone dirty, someone tainted by the act forced upon them. What then? You got to see how it all it's kind of rocks and stones, isn't it? It's the start of an avalanche, because this will have problems in their life. I guess the essence, the point I'm going to get to is that it dehumanises them. They withdraw themselves to the point where they no longer feel human. What does that mean? How can you no longer feel human? Well, that is quite simple. They isolate themselves. People like this, and to be honest, this goes for not just abuse. I'm using that just to kind of help me explain certain aspects. I'm not saying that this happens just in this case, or it happens in every case. That's just to help me try and get my points across, because it's something that I find easy to kind of use to support what I'm saying. It's not always true, and obviously, like I've said in, I think, my channel description, it says, I'm not saying fact. I'm saying opinion, self-realisation, self-reflection, and stuff I've read, So, what happens? They don't feel human. Why? Because they've lost the comfort other humans bring. They become isolated. Imagine, I guess the best way to say it would be, imagine that you were, I don't know, one blue marble next to 6 million red marbles. No idea why that came into my head. But it serves the point. You feel like you are not defined the way that everyone else is. You're different. And of course you would be. Your essence has been changed. And therefore you can no longer relate to your friends in some circumstances. Now, you can build bridges to relate to them. Obviously, you talk about your things. You talk about your problems. Or you tell them. And you get them bridges. But what happens to the people that cannot tell them? That's when the problems start going. It's when the cracks in the foundations of your belief that you are human, or your belief that you feel human, start to appear.